Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a birthday cake for my mom. It is her birthday tomorrow. This is going to be delicious. It's a tiramisu, but it's not our traditional one with the coffee. Instead, we're gonna be using an orange liqueur, and then also it's gonna be topped off with a lot of berries. So I got blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. So we're gonna decorate it all fancy on top. Summer birthdays are always fun. You could have a lighter, more cool one. So the only baking in this is I'm going to attempt to make ladyfingers. I've never done this before, so fingers crossed this goes well, because the stores close to me did not have any ladyfingers, and you would have to order them off of Amazon and it won't get here for a few days. So we're going to attempt to make them. So wish me luck. Okay, so for this, we're first gonna start out with separating our eggs. We're going to be needing to beat them quite a bit. So I have both a stand mixer and a hand mixer to help me out. So first off, we're gonna crack these, and we need to make sure that the yolk does not break and that we do not get any shells anymore. So I'm gonna carefully, you wanna do it into a separate bowl in case something were to happen. Okay, so that one didn't crack very good, so I'm gonna just try to get it out this way. I have nice and clean hands. I just wanna make sure you do that beforehand in case something like this happens. Okay, there's one. Hopefully the other two go a little bit easier. Oh, that one cracked better. Okay, I'm gonna pass it back and forth. Okay, there we go. There's two. Okay, and then the last one. And three. I'm not the best at that. I don't do it very often, so made a little bit of a mess, but it'll work. Now I'm gonna wash my hands. Okay, and let's move on to the next step. So for this, we're going to get it whisking some, and then once it starts to get bubbly, then we're gonna start to slowly incorporate a fourth a cup of sugar. And then in our yolks, we're going to add in a fourth a cup of sugar, a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and a fourth a teaspoon of salt. And we wanna beat that until it gets to be a pale yellow color. So first off, let's get started with this. Okay, this is looking pretty good, so let me just check on it. We want it to have, it's not a completely stiff peak, you want it to have some fold over, but I think it still needs a little bit longer. I'm also scraping down the sides and getting any extra sugar that didn't get in the bowl at the beginning, but this is starting to really take form. It is almost done. And you wanna make sure when you're doing this, you're doing it with room temperature eggs, because it will hold its shape much better. Okay, these are both looking awesome. This got much paler. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off like this, and look at that, perfect. Okay, so, okay, this is where I get a little nervous, because we need to make sure that everything gets really combined together nicely, but we also need to be careful not to get all the air bubbles out of the egg whites that we just beat up. So we need to start slowly combining this and folding it over gently, but also making sure that it's all getting combined. So first, we're gonna take a little bit of this, plop it in there, and gently start folding it in with our yolks. In this first round, it does lose more air because the yolk is so much denser, but since we did that first one, hopefully the rest of them will then be able to hold its shape better, because each time you add more, it gets lighter. And then this is going to also have some flour and some cornstarch in it to help stabilize it and really make it into the cookie dough that we're gonna be using. Just keep repeating the process until it is all combined. Also wanting to make sure you're getting any of the yolks that you can see. You see like a bubble, it's usually the yolks or the whites, I mean, sticking together. And we don't want just the yolk. Okay, so we got the rest of our yolk in here, so that's good. Okay, so I think I got the yolk in here pretty good, and it's still quite fluffy. I'm still trying to get out some of those little white bits, but we can start adding our flour. Okay, I think I got most of the white bits out. So for this recipe, you need a cup of flour that we're going to sift on top. Want to make sure that there's no big lumps in this. And then you also need 5 teaspoons of cornstarch. Okay, and we're going to gently fold this in as well. Gently get everything till it's well combined. This has been going a lot easier than I thought it would, so I'm pretty happy about how this is turning out so far. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. Make sure everything is getting combined. We don't want any flour lumps in here. Okay, this is looking good, so we're going to transfer it over into a bag. Now, if you have a piping bag, that would be preferred. I do not have that, so I have a freezer bag and I put it in this bowl to kind of help give it some structure as I'm dumping it all in there. And we are just going to get this all into our bag. Now what we're gonna do is pipe it on to some parchment paper. So let me get this out. And I am going to cut a hole in the bottom of this bag, just like so. And we are going to pipe out. You want it to be about 3 inches long. And you're going to keep piping them out. Hopefully these don't spread too much. I wonder if I'm getting these too close. And they don't need to be 100% perfect, especially because this is going to be going into a tiramisu, so you're not gonna really see the shape of them as much. It's mostly the texture that we're getting out of them. Okay, and then we're only gonna put these in one at a time, so we can't cook 2 at the same time, for about 12 minutes. Okay, so 14 on the first round, not too bad. So here's what we're working with. Some are a little longer, some are a little shorter, but that's okay. But before we bake them, there is an important last step. We want to make sure that these are not spreading out too much, and it will give it some extra sugar flavor. So we are going to sprinkle powdered sugar all over the top of all of them. So it is gonna look a little something like this going into the oven. Okay, and then I will be back in about 12 to 15 minutes to see how these are going. Okay, see you then. Okay, I have been letting them go a little bit longer, closer to the 15-minute mark, because I want them more crunchy, so they absorb more of the syrup that they're gonna go in to make the tiramisu. But if you want them to be slightly more chewy, I would take them out closer to the 12-minute. But I do think they're done. They are a beautiful golden brown, and oh, they turned out so good. You can hear them sizzling. Look at that. So for this, you wanna put it on top of the oven and you wanna let it completely cool on the pan before you take them off. So I'm going to do that and get the other batch cooking. So we're gonna put this in there, just like so. And I will come check in with you once all of that is ready to go. Okay, they're all out of the oven and cooled, and I'm so happy with how these turned out. They turned out great. I was a little nervous about the whole keeping the eggs fluffy thing, but look at that. I am so happy with how these turned out. They're nice and crispy, but they also have this beautiful little crackle on them. So the last thing I'm gonna do today is just put them in a bag. They have completely cooled off. So I'm going to be putting together the tiramisu part tomorrow. I just wanted to get the Ladyfingers done just to make sure that they turned out in time, and if I needed to try again. But they turned out wonderfully the first time, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought. If you're intimidated by making your own, I recommend giving it a try. It was a lot easier than I thought it was, and it is so much cheaper than buying them in the store. If I bought them in the store, you need 2 boxes, so that would be about $10, if not more. So this is so much cheaper this way. But if you either don't have the time or you just don't want to attempt it, the store-bought ones will be delicious as well. Or if you just want to make these for the cookie part and just dip it in like an espresso or something like that, that would also be delicious. So you wanna make sure you're storing this in a very airtight container. You don't want to get any humidity in there to soften it up because we want the cookies to absorb as much of that simple syrupy kind of liquid that we're gonna be making tomorrow. But here we go. We're gonna get all the air out and close this up tight. And there you have it, Ladyfingers for our tiramisu that I'm gonna be putting together tomorrow. I am very impressed with myself with how this turned out. So I'll see you tomorrow when we start to put together the actual tiramisu part. Okay, it is the next day and it is time to assemble our tiramisu. We're gonna be making the syrup for the Ladyfingers to be dipped in. And I have my pan out that I'm gonna be assembling everything in. And then we're gonna be whisking up some mascarpone and also some heavy cream and making our topping for all this. And then the very last thing I'm gonna do is top it off with berries, but I'm gonna do that right before we're about to serve it. They're best fresh on there so they don't kind of absorb into the frosting, or I shouldn't call it frosting. It's kind of like frosting, but not. And then also, they did not have enough mascarpone for this recipe. I could only get 8 ounces at the grocery store. So I ended up taking some cream cheese and I whisked it together with a little bit of heavy cream and a little bit of Greek yogurt to make a very similar replacement for our mascarpone. So I have 8 ounces of mascarpone and 8 ounces of my own mixture, but it's better to have 16 ounces of just the mascarpone. Just my store only had the one. So now that that's all out of the way, we are gonna get started. So first off, we are gonna make our syrup. So we need 1 1/4 cup of warm water. We want it to be warm so that the sugar dissolves a little bit better. So for this, we need 1/2 cup of sugar, just like so. So we're gonna put that in there. And we want this to dissolve in there. So we're gonna stir it around. As I'm kind of waiting for that to dissolve, we need the zest of 1 lemon. So I have my microplane. We're just gonna go all around, get off all that beautiful zest. I love this thing. It makes it so much easier to zest and you can see what you're doing way better. So I highly recommend getting one of these. I didn't have one for the longest time and it has made life so much easier whenever you have to zest anything. It's also really good for Parmesan cheese. Okay, there we go. We're just gonna get that all in there. So this will bring a nice lemony citrus to go along with our orange liqueur. So it will be a very citrusy. Oh, this smells so good. Very refreshing, which is nice because it is supposed to get up to 94 today, which is actually on the cooler side. The past couple days it's been 104 every single day. It's sad when that's considered cool. Okay, so we got that. And then for our syrup, we want 3 tablespoons of this orange liqueur. It smells very nice. So Grand Marnier, or this is the orange liqueur from Costco. And then later today, when I'm serving it to my mom, I'm gonna make a mimosa with this and champagne and some fresh orange juice. So that's gonna be delicious to go with it. Really bring out that fruity flavor to go along with it. Okay, and that's gonna do its thing for a while. In the meantime, I'm gonna get started on this. So give me a second. Okay, so for this, we need to put our mascarpone in a bowl. Get that all out there. I'm just gonna spread that around a little bit just to kind of help it get a little more surface area. And then I'm also gonna add my mixture. And then to this, I'm gonna add 2 more tablespoons of our orange liqueur. This should not be too boozy, but if you don't wanna use alcohol, you could also replace this with orange juice if you would like. And then we're just going to mix this all together until all of the orange liqueur gets mixed together. And we kind of want this a little bit smoother because we're gonna be folding it into some whipped cream. So we want it to be able to fold nice. And I'm gonna get all that mascarpone mixed together with my cream cheese one that I made. But like I said, if you have all mascarpone, that would be best. But we are making do. And this is coming together beautifully. Now it is time for our heavy cream. So we're gonna open this up and we need 1.5 cups of heavy cream. All my other smaller ones are being used, so we're gonna use this big one. Perfect. So we're gonna pour this into the stand mixer with my whisk attachment on. And then this also needs a half a cup of sugar. And we need a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're just gonna whisk that until it turns into whipped cream. You wanna make sure not to over whisk it though, because then it almost turns into butter and we do not want that. So make sure you don't drift too far away from it. Okay, this is really starting to come together. So we're gonna take this off. Look at that. We got our beautiful whipped cream. Let's give it a little taste test. Very good. Okay, now it is time to add our mascarpone mix to our whipped cream. So I'm gonna add a little bit at a time and just fold it into it. We wanna be careful not to deflate the whipped cream too much. So we're just going to fold it in, kind of like how we did with the Ladyfingers. A lot of folding in gently to do in this recipe. Okay, now it is the fun part. It's time to start assembling. So this is looking fantastic. It still has a light and fluffy consistency, but it is all well combined. So we are going to take our mixture right here. I'm gonna give it one last good stir. And then I'm gonna pour it into here. I feel like this will be a little bit easier for dipping. This is smelling so citrusy. Okay, and then we're gonna take our Ladyfingers and we're just going to dip it in. We wanna do it fast because we don't wanna get super saturated, but we want enough that you taste it. So we're gonna dip it in, just like so. And then we're gonna place them on here. From here on out, it's a no bake. If you're buying your Ladyfingers, this whole entire recipe is no bake. So that's the only thing I had to bake. I'm just kind of putting it in here. A bunch of bubbles are coming out of it. And then once the bubbles stop, I take it out. This is gonna be so good. And these are holding its form quite well too, which is good. Cat's in the other room being a menace. Can fit one more in this row. 10 going across for my pan. This long one where the short one is. Oh, perfect. Yeah, and then I'll get 2 rows. These are the perfect size, so that's good. Okay, and then once they've had a little bit of time to soak up, you can kind of move them around a little bit and get a little more in. So I'm just kind of smushing them all together. And then we're able to fit a couple more on. Okay, so this is what we're working with now. I'm going to just let this set for a couple minutes while I clean up this little bit, and then we'll put the toppings on. Okay, this is looking great. So it is time to put on our cream top. So we're just gonna plop it on and spread it out. Now this is the kind of frosting I can do. It's a lot easier than having to wait for a thing to cool and spin things around. Never turns out quite right. Okay, and we just want to make sure everything gets an even coat of this. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Okay, so right now it's looking like this, but I'm going to let it chill for the afternoon. My mom and I are gonna go out shopping for a little bit. And then when we come back, I am going to top it off with the berries and then serve it up. Okay, it is time to finish up our cake and we are going to decorate it with a bunch of berries. So I have washed and cut up some strawberries and then I have some blueberries and blackberries that we're gonna decorate this whole cake with. So let's begin. Plastic wrap off, but we're gonna save it. And then I'm gonna go up and give it to my mom and we're going to try it up there, but then I'm gonna bring down a little bit back down here and explain how it tasted. With the blueberries, I think I'm gonna try and spell, well, I don't know if there's gonna be enough room, happy birthday. Let's see if that works. Okay, so I got Happy Bee Day on it, so that turned out pretty good. There was no way I was gonna get the entire birthday on here, but now it is time to decorate with our strawberries and blackberries. So I'm just going to place these on. Cat's going crazy in the other room. She wants some attention. Okay, so this is what we're working with. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Happy birthday with the strawberries and the blueberries. It's gonna be so good. These strawberries are delicious. So I'm going to go and celebrate with her, and we're going to eat this delicious cake, and then I will come back with a little slice of it, and I will tell you about it when I get back. See you then. Okay, I just got back down. My mom loved it. She said this is the perfect summer birthday cake, so pretty high praise, but I saved half of mine, so it's not gonna be a first try, but I'll taste it and kind of explain to you what I'm tasting. So you wanna get a chunk of the Ladyfingers and the cream, and I got a strawberry and a blueberry. This cake is so good. The cream on this is so light and fluffy, and it's rich but not overly rich. So it tastes a lot lighter than, let's say, a cheesecake, but it is still has that really nice, creamy, silky, smooth flavoring to it. The Ladyfingers absorbed the right amount of that liquid, and it tastes so good. It has a slight lemon flavor, and I'm very impressed with myself for making those Ladyfingers, so very happy about that. And the blueberries and strawberries and blackberries give it a really nice crunch and gives it some texture to play with when you're eating it too, so you have a bunch of different flavors and textures going on in this. So I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I'm glad my mom loved it. And then with the orange liqueur, you can barely even taste it. It does not taste boozy at all. But like I said, if you wanna make this non-alcoholic, just switch it out with orange juice. But I am very happy with how this all turned out. So if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I am going to finish this. So good.